If you've ever felt invisible to a woman you deeply want, this will make your chest tighten, because the truth is, most men are rejected long before a woman ever says no. Listen to me carefully. I'm speaking to you not as an influencer, not as a coach chasing your attention, but as a female psychologist who has listened to thousands of women confess what they never tell the men they date. What I'm about to say may bruise your ego, but it will also free you. A woman doesn't decide desire the way men do. She doesn't look at you and instantly ask, "Is he attractive enough?" She asks something far more dangerous to your chances. How does he make me feel about myself when I'm around him? And most men unknowingly answer that question in the worst possible way. When a woman says she's not interested, she's rarely talking about your looks, your income, or your status. She's responding to a psychological signal you sent without realizing it. A signal that says, "I need your approval more than I value my own direction." The moment she senses that, desire shuts down, not because you're weak, but because polarity collapses. Here's what men are never taught. Desire grows in space, not pressure. Yet when a man wants a woman, he moves closer. He explains himself more, he tries harder, he becomes emotionally louder. From her nervous system's perspective, this feels invasive, not romantic. It triggers caution, not curiosity. Women are wired to respond to emotional leadership. That doesn't mean dominance or control. It means grounded presence. When you're centered in your life, when your attention is valuable because it's not freely given, she feels it. Her body reads it before her mind understands it. Most men chase connection too early. They try to create intimacy before attraction has earned the right to exist. That's like asking someone to trust you before they feel safe. And safety, to a woman, is emotional, not logical. Let me say something that may sting. When you try to convince a woman to like you, you confirm her instinct not to. Attraction cannot be negotiated. It's evoked. Women desire men who are internally full, not men who are hoping she will complete them. The irony is cruel, but real. The less you need her interest to feel whole, the more room her desire has to grow. I've watched women lose interest in men who were perfect on paper because those men were subtly asking for validation with every interaction. And I've watched women become magnetically drawn to men who didn't try to impress them at all because those men were impressed with their own lives. Desire begins when a woman feels she is choosing you, not rescuing you from loneliness. This is where everything changes. The question is no longer, how do I make her want me? The real question is, what emotional signal am I broadcasting when I walk into a room? Because whether you speak or stay silent, she is already receiving it. And once you understand that signal, once you learn how to shift it, you stop chasing women who aren't interested. Something far more powerful happens. They begin to notice you first. Here's the part most men never confront because it requires brutal self-honesty. Women don't lose interest randomly. Desire fades when a man unconsciously places a woman above his own emotional center. The moment she feels like the prize instead of a participant, her nervous system pulls back. As a psychologist, I've heard women describe this sensation in different words, but the meaning is always the same. I felt like he was watching me too closely. It felt like pressure. I didn't feel space to want him. None of those men were bad. Most were kind, attentive, emotionally open. And that's exactly why they failed. Because attraction is not built on emotional availability alone. It's built on emotional self-sufficiency. When a woman senses that your mood rises and falls based on her replies, her tone, or her availability, something inside her tightens. Not consciously, instinctively. Her body reads dependency as instability. And instability is the enemy of desire. This is where men misunderstand confidence. Confidence is not loudness. It's not teasing. It's not pretending you don't care. Real confidence is emotional containment. It's knowing that if she pulls away, you remain intact. Not cold, not resentful, intact. Women are constantly scanning for this without realizing it. Can this man stay grounded when I'm uncertain? Can he hold his direction without me validating it? Can he tolerate not being chosen immediately? If the answer is no, attraction collapses. Here's the psychological paradox. The fastest way to make a woman desire you is to stop auditioning for her approval. The male brain thinks effort equals value. The female nervous system experiences excessive effort as pressure. When you overinvest early, you remove mystery. And mystery is the fuel of desire. A woman wants to discover you, not be convinced by you. That doesn't mean being distant or manipulative. It means being anchored in a life that feels complete with or without her. When you speak about your goals, your work, your routines, there is a calm certainty behind your words. You're not selling, you're sharing. And here's something few men are told. Women don't fall for who you say you are. They fall for who you are being when nothing is guaranteed. How you move when there is no reassurance. How you respond when she doesn't text back. How you act when attention is uncertain. Desire lives in emotional contrast. If you are always available, always agreeable, always seeking closeness, there is no contrast. No tension, no spark. This is why men who do less often get more interest. Not because they play games, but because they are not emotionally collapsing into the outcome. When a woman says she's not interested, it often means, I don't feel polarity with you right now. And polarity is not created by chasing, it's created by presence. The moment you stop trying to pull her towards you and start standing firmly in yourself, something shifts. Her curiosity awakens, her defenses soften. Because now, desire has room to breathe. And this is where most men make their biggest mistake, right when things begin to change. When a woman starts to feel that shift in you, she doesn't announce it. She tests it, subtly, quietly. And this is where desire is either sealed or destroyed. She may pull back, delay her replies, become less expressive. Not because she's losing interest, but because her nervous system is asking a question. Is this man still grounded when I'm not leaning in? Most men fail this test instantly. They panic, they chase, they overclarify. And in doing so, they answer the question in the worst possible way. Let me be precise. A woman doesn't want to be the emotional regulator for a grown man. The moment she feels responsible for your confidence, attraction turns into obligation. And obligation kills desire faster than rejection ever could. What she is looking for is emotional steadiness. Not indifference, not emotional distance, steadiness. The ability to stay warm without becoming needy, to stay open without collapsing inward. This balance is rare, and that rarity is exactly why it's magnetic. Here's the truth men resist. Desire grows in uncertainty. When everything is obvious, predictable, and emotionally available on demand, the subconscious mind disengages. A woman's attraction system is not stimulated by certainty alone. It's stimulated by safety and intrigue. Most men only offer one. When you respond calmly instead of reactively, when you continue living your life instead of orbiting her attention, something powerful happens. She begins to wonder, why isn't he chasing me? Why does he seem unchanged? And that question creates emotional tension. Tension creates desire. This isn't manipulation, it's psychological alignment. You're no longer trying to extract something from her. You're allowing her to come towards you at her own pace. And the female psyche responds deeply to that freedom. Women desire men who can hold space without demanding movement. If she senses that you would still be fulfilled even if she walked away, her interest intensifies. Because now she's not being chosen out of fear or lack, she's being chosen out of preference. That distinction changes everything. Let me say something very clearly. A woman does not want to be your purpose. She wants to be invited into it. When your life has direction, when your time has weight, your presence becomes valuable. Not because you say it is, but because it feels scarce. Scarcity isn't about being unavailable. It's about being engaged elsewhere, fulfilled, moving forward. And here's the moment that separates men who remain invisible from men who become unforgettable. When she senses desire growing inside her and realizes you are not chasing that desire, her emotional system flips. Curiosity becomes attraction. Attraction becomes pursuit. At this stage, many men sabotage themselves by suddenly leaning in too hard. They smell interest and rush to secure it. But desire is not something to capture. It's something to allow. When you stay centered, when you don't rush the outcome, when you let her feelings develop without interference, you communicate a powerful message without words. I trust myself. I trust the process. I don't need to force this. And nothing is more attractive to the female nervous system than a man who is not afraid of silence, distance, or time. This is where attraction becomes emotional gravity. And once gravity is established, you no longer have to pull. She comes to you. Now we arrive at the truth most men are never taught because it requires letting go of control. A woman's desire cannot be commanded, convinced, or chased into existence. It emerges when she feels emotionally safe and emotionally alive in your presence. And that combination only happens when you are deeply rooted in yourself. At this point, if she still says she's not interested, the response that determines everything is not what you say to her, but what you do with yourself afterward. Men who become unforgettable do not collapse into self-doubt or resentment. They don't argue with her perception. They accept reality without bitterness. And that acceptance sends a signal far more powerful than persuasion ever could. Women feel this. When a man accepts her choice without emotional withdrawal or protest, something unexpected happens inside her. Respect grows. And respect is the soil where delayed desire often forms. Let me be clear, this is not about waiting around. It's about walking forward without closing your heart. When you continue improving your life, expanding your confidence, deepening your purpose, you change the emotional frame she associates with you. And sometimes, long after she said no, her nervous system revisits the memory of you. Not because you chased her, but because you didn't. As a psychologist, I've watched women circle back to men they once dismissed. Not because those men changed for them, but because those men changed, period. Their presence became heavier, calmer, more grounded, and suddenly, what once felt uninteresting now felt safe, intriguing, and desirable. This is the part most men misunderstand. You don't make a woman desire you by focusing on her desire. You do it by becoming a man whose emotional energy invites desire naturally. A man who doesn't need to be chosen to feel worthy, but whose worth makes others want to choose him. Desire is a response to being with someone who feels complete. When a woman is around a man like that, she relaxes. She doesn't feel managed. She doesn't feel pressured. She feels free, and freedom is the gateway to attraction. So here is the equation I want you to sit with, honestly and without ego. Neediness minus purpose equals rejection. Purpose minus neediness equals desire. Ask yourself and answer in the comments, where are you on that equation right now? If this message unsettled you, that's a good sign. It means something in you recognized the truth. Like this video if you felt seen. Subscribe if you're ready to build real emotional power. And share this with a friend who's still trying to chase what can only be invited. Some men never hear this. Now you have.